To get started on this project, you should have downloaded the Looking Head Animate file. When you double click on it, this will open up in Animate, and let me show you how this project file is set up. The first thing I would do is to go to the very top of your stage, and let's zoom out to Show All. This will show everything in the frame. Right now, all you have is a simple character head, and if you hit return, all he's going to be doing is blinking once. What we're going to do is to animate this head, having him look to the left and then to the right and animating all the features so that it looks like he's turning his head in 3 dimensions. The second thing I would do is have a look at your library. Going up to the library panel, you can see that this head is made up of a bunch of different symbols. Whenever you want to animate something, everything that moves has to have its own individual symbol. And even within these symbols, there's other symbols that make up some more complex and compound parts of his head. To see all of those in action, use your black arrow selection tool, and let's double click on the head itself. And let's have a look at our timeline. You may have to pull up your timeline to see all of these different layers. Within the timeline, every part that has to be animated has its own individual layer and therefore its own individual timeline. This makes it easy to select each individual part and be able to move it independently of all of the others. So whenever you see an animation, as complex as it has to have its own symbol and its own timeline. And this is the way all animations are set up within Adobe Animate. Now this can look daunting simply because there's so much to keep up with, but we're going to take it one part at a time. Within the book, it's going to start by showing you how to animate just the eye, looking off to the side and then back to the center. Later on, we're going to add another animation looking to the other side. Let's select this left eye, which is actually labeled the character's right eye. So clicking on it, and then double click on it, this will take you into the isolation mode for the character's right eye. You can see by the timeline that even within this eye, there's 2 different timelines. Now if we back up our playhead, you can see there's an eyelid and the eye itself. And when we play, that eye blinks. But where's that blinking motion coming from? I don't see any new keyframes here. Well, let's dig even further. Double click on the eyelid. You can see there's a layer 1 timeline. And then if you double click again, you can see here's a masking of a shape tween that gives you that blink. Now fortunately we don't have to dig this deep into all the animation. This is already set up for us. So I'm going to go back and let's click on the character eyelid house. If we wanted to add a second blink to this timeline, let's go to this timeline on layer 1 and add that second blink. I'm going to go to about the 50th keyframe. So selecting frame number 50, let's insert a new keyframe by right-clicking on it and choose Insert Keyframe. And this will give us a new change in its position. Now right now, this tends to start blinking right at frame number 1, and then when it plays through, it's not going to blink again. Let's tell it to start blinking right here at frame 50. So with that 50th frame selected, let's go over to your Properties panel, select the object. In this case, the object is going to be that eye that we have, and go down to the Looping submenu. We want to have this start looping again at frame number 1. So first, choose frame number 1. Now when you play through, you can see it'll blink once here, and when it reaches this keyframe, it's going to start back over. Frame number 1 and then blink again. So now we have 2 different blinks. You'll also notice that for now it's only showing you blinking on this eye. However, there's a copy of this eye that's making up the right eye on this one. If we go up to Control and down to Test, you can see that both eyes will start to blink. And there it goes again. We can close out our testing. Now let's back out to character eye R so that we're working on just the entire eyeball on the right hand side, and let's go into the eyeball's pupil. Carefully double click on the pupil of this eye and this will isolate just this eyeball. You can already see that this eyeball has a variety of different layers as well. We're only going to be moving and working with the pupil, so don't worry about the other parts of the eyeball for now. Now what we want to do is to have the eyeball looking to this left-hand side once the lid is fully closed. If we go back to our eyelid, remember this eyelid fully closes by frame 55. So once it's closed down there and picks back up, that's when we want to have the eyeball move to this particular side. So make note of frame 55 to about 65 is where that eyelid movement happens, going back into here. So let's have that pupil move. Going down to our timeline, I'm going to select frame number 55 and let's insert another keyframe. Right click, choose Insert Keyframe. Then we can move this pupil over to the right-hand side. Again, because there's a copy of it, whatever you do to this pupil is also going to happen to this pupil as well. And that's kind of the beauty of this. Now if you were to test your movie, we can go up to Control, down to Test. You can see he'll blink once, then blink again, and have his eye off to this right-hand side. With him looking off to this side, let's also have him do an eye dart. This darting motion, if you're following along with the book, is just going to have him look quickly down and then back up. So going to our timeline, let's have him linger for about 1.5 seconds. So let's go all the way over to the 80th keyframe. Selecting that 80th keyframe, let's insert another keyframe indicating there'll be a change. So this will be the starting point for our dart movement. Then we'll move over about 4 or 5 frames more. So in this case, I'm going to choose the 84th frame. Let's insert another keyframe. And on this 84th frame, let's have him looking slightly down. So using your Move tool, I'm going to move it downward just a bit. And because it's a three-dimensional object, let's also rotate it. So I'm going to choose my Free Transform, then click and rotate it just slightly. And I can choose my regular movement tool. So if you're following along in the timeline, he'll go over here. Then once he reaches here, he'll look down. To animate this, we need to insert a motion tween. So select that 80th frame. We'll right click on it and insert, not a motion, but a classic tween. This will give us our our purple arrow and tween in between both of those. Also, while we're here, let's select that 80th frame and let's insert some easing. We'll go over to our Properties panel and under the Frame menu, go down to the Tweening submenu and let's check the Classic Ease and we'll bump it all the way up to 100. This will give us an ease out so that when it plays, it slowly pulls into there. Now with the eyeball looking down, let's have it look back up. And we can use some of the existing objects and frames that are already here to help us do this. So going down to our timeline, let's select this 90th frame and insert a keyframe. This will be the starting point for him looking back up. And we want him to look back up into the same position as it was on this 80th keyframe. So clicking on the 80th keyframe, let's copy this pupil and paste it right in the same spot. So with the pupil selected, go up to Edit and Copy. Then let's jump back in and we're going to insert a new keyframe. Let's say right about here, frame number 94. Insert a new keyframe. And we'll delete away this one, hitting the delete key, go up to Edit, and let's paste in place. So what we've done is we've created one frame where it's looking down, and then another frame where it looks back up, but we've copied it and pasted it into the same position. Now let's add the motion tween between these two. So with this 90th keyframe selected, we'll two-finger click, insert a classic tween to have it animate back up into this position. So down and then back up. Let's also do some easing in or easing out for this keyframe. So selecting that 90th keyframe right here, going over to our Properties panel, under the frame, under the easing, let's insert or increase this all the way to 100. So now it'll look back up. Let's test our animation. Go up to Control, down to test. You can see he'll blink. On the second blink, he'll look to the side, and then down and back up. Now with that, we're done animating the eye. Let's go all the way back to the character head isolation mode. What we want to do now is to have the character animate and turn his head whenever he does this blinking motion. So let's make note of when he starts to blink, and when he does this, this is when we want him to move his head. In our case, he starts blinking right at about frame number 50. So if we want to have each of the different parts of his face start to animate at the same time, we want to have a keyframe right at frame 50 on all of the timelines in each layer. So to do this, go to the very topmost layer, in this case it'll be the hair tuft, and select frame 50. Then scroll down to the very bottom so you can see the last layer. Hold down Shift and click once, and this will select the 50th frame in all of the timelines. With all of those frames selected, you can right-click on it and choose Insert Keyframe, and this will insert a starting point for all of our different keyframes. From here, let's also zoom out so we can see our entire area. So let's go up to here and do Show All so we can see our entire man. With that established, let's see how long it takes for him to blink. Scrubbing our playhead over, you can see right at about frame number 65 is when the entire blink action ends. So let's insert another set of keyframes for all of the different layers. So going down to our timeline, select the topmost layer, frame number 65, then go down to the very bottommost layer and hold down Shift and click. That'll select all of the ones in between. Then you can right-click on it and insert a keyframe for all of those. It's on all of these keyframes that we want to have our head slightly shifted off to this left-hand side. Now to do this, we're going to take it one part at a time. Let's just go all the way down for each individual layer. So I'm going to go to this topmost layer and select this keyframe, which happens to be the little tuft of hair. And we're going to shift him over by using our arrow keys. Hold down the Shift key as you hit your left arrow key once, twice. And you can see it'll bump it over just a little bit. And in our case, we also want this edge to match up. So I'm going to go down just a little bit for this one. Now let's do the same thing for the next layer. Going down to your timeline, select this next keyframe. In this case, it's the hair. Now the hair itself doesn't necessarily need to move because we don't want to just shift it over. We actually want it to look like it's rotating in 3 dimensions. If I was to start to shift it over, you can see it's going to get off of his head. So I'm going to undo that. And what we want to do is keep the hair in the same position. All of the other parts are going to stay, are going to be what's moving. The hair is what's going to stay the same. Let's go to the next part. So the third layer, in this case it's the little spikes. These little spikes, if it's rotating in 3 dimensions, maybe if that's on the back part of his hair, it's not going to move over so much. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to do the right just once. Going back down, let's do the eyebrow. So selecting the next layer. In this case, it's hidden underneath here, but let's move it over. Hold down Shift once, twice. Going back down to the next eyebrow, selecting the next keyframe. Move it the same amount, hold down Shift and hit your left arrow once, twice. Next keyframe, in this case it's the eye, hold down Shift once, twice. And the next eye, once, twice. The next part would be the nose. And then finally the mouth. And the lower part of the lip. Now, when it gets to the chin, keep in mind the chin may not necessarily move because he's rotating in 3 dimensions. If I was to move it over, let's say we'll move it over just once. The skull itself, this isn't going to move because we don't want to have the entire face moving at all. So keep the face in the same position. The ears are going to be kind of unique. So imagine the face moving in 3 dimensions. This ear that's on this left-hand side, if it was to rotate around, wouldn't move out. It would actually move inward because the face is shifting and it's rotating in 3 dimensions. On the other side, the left ear, this would move out because you would be seeing more of it. So I'm going to shift and do the right arrow just once and have it move out from here. If we were to test our animation, we can see it's moving from this position into this position. Now let's add a motion tween to each of the individual parts. So go into each of the keyframes. You can right click and add a classic tween into there. Let's do the same for the other ones. Inserting a classic tween, inserting a classic tween. You can actually select all of these at the same time by clicking on one, holding shift, and clicking on the last one, so this selects all in between. Now when you insert a classic tween, it'll do it to all of the layers. And when it animates, you can see how it looks like it's moving in 3 dimensions all together. Now that was kind of a robotic kind of movement. Let's go up to Control and test our movie and see what it looks like. You can see how it moves just very slightly. Let's add some motion tweening to all of these. Once again, we'll select all of these by clicking on the first one and holding down Shift and clicking on the last one. Go over to your Properties panel and let's add some easing out. In this case, we'll keep it the effect of a classic ease. Let's insert or increase this number all the way up to 100%. Now when we test our movie, go up to Control and Test. You can see how he moves a little bit quicker on the start. Let's close this out now. The last thing we need to do is to have him look back to the center portion. To do this, let's go all the way to the end of our timeline. We'll have him pause for a long time before moving back to the center. So let's go to frame 140 and let's insert a set of keyframes on all the layers. So selecting that topmost keyframe, hold down Shift and select the bottommost keyframe on the bottom layer. This will get all the ones in between. Then we can right click and insert a keyframe here. So this will be the starting point for him to move over. Then let's go to the second to last keyframe. In this case, it's frame 168. And let's insert a set of keyframes on all of those layers too. Hold down Shift and select all of those. Whoops. There we go. Then we can insert a keyframe for this one. This will be the ending point to have everything move back. Now, since we want everything to be in the exact same position, we need to carefully copy and paste everything back into that position. Let's take it one layer at a time. First, select this topmost keyframe. In this case, it'll be the hair tuft. We can delete it away. Then we can go back on our timeline to where it starts. In this case, it'll be frame number 50 for this one. With it selected, you can go up to Edit and Copy. Then jump back into that lastmost keyframe. You can go to Edit and Paste in Place. And that'll put it within the same spot. So it'll move back into its original position. Take this one thing at a time. Anything that moves needs to be moved back into its position. So let's get rid of the hair. In this case, I know the hair isn't going to be moving, but we'll do it just to be in good measure. Go back to frame number 50, go up to Edit and Copy. This is where your keyboard shortcuts really come in handy. So Command C, jump back over to the last keyframe. And in this case, to paste in place, it's Shift Command V. And it'll paste it in the same spot. Choose the next layer, in this case a little tuft, delete it away. Go back on your timeline, Command C. Choose the last one, Shift Command V to paste it in the same spot. Get rid of the eyebrow. In this case, go back to the original eyebrow, Command C. Go back over, Shift Command V. Take this one thing at a time until they're all pasted and copy and pasted from one to the other. Now with everything copied over, let's add our motion tweening from this keyframe to our very last keyframe. We'll go down to our timeline and select the topmost keyframe, hold down Shift and select the bottommost keyframe to get all of those in between. Then you can right-click and insert your classic tween. This will move everything back into its original position. The only thing that we have left is the eyes need to move back to their original position as well. So remember, this movement happened between frames 140 and 168. So let's click on the rightmost eye, double click on it to enter into its isolation mode, and then let's double click on the pupil to enter that isolation mode. So now we've gone back to our eye's main timeline. We can scroll over to frame 140, and let's insert a keyframe here. Then we'll go to frame 168 and insert another keyframe. This will be the frame that pulls your eye back to its original starting position. So on frame 168, let's delete that away, and let's go and find the frame's original starting position. So we can all go all the way back to frame number 1. And with frame 1 selected, it's got the pupil selected, we'll go up to Copy or Edit and Copy. Then let's jump back all the way to that last keyframe, and let's paste it in place. Go up to Edit, Paste in place. Now we can add a motion tween between these two. So selecting this 140th keyframe, insert our classic tween, and that will move it back into position along with all the other parts of the face as well. Let's go back up to scene 1. Now when we test our animation, we can go up to Control and Test. It'll blink twice and look. Good. And then move back into its original position. Excellent job. Once you've finished up with this project, let's go up to File and do a Save As, and make sure to add your name to the title of your file. The file format is still going to be an Animate Flash document. We'll hit Save, and that document is what you're going to upload to Moodle to turn in for your project grade.